Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock and it's time for another video. And today I want to talk to you about the Young Magician of the Year competition 2024. And I want to talk to you about how the future of magic is very, very bright indeed. So, for those of you that don't know, there is an organization called the YMC. It stands for the Young Magicians Club. Now, the YMC is actually the youth initiative of the Magic Circle. I'm sure you've all heard of the Magic Circle. Well, the Magic Circle has a youth initiative. It's called the YMC, the Young Magicians Club. And they have members from all over the world. And every single month they meet on a Saturday at the Magic Circle headquarters. They have lectures. They have competitions. Every month they have competitions. They have their own convention called J-Day, where every year they have a convention, they have star lecturers, they have a dealer hall, they have a competition. Like, it's amazing that what the Magic Circle are doing for young magicians is fantastic. Now, last year, the Young Magicians Club was put into new hands. It was taken over by Harry de la Cruz and oh my gosh, why is my memory just failing me completely? The name's going to be at the bottom of the screen. I know him really well as well. He's amazing. He's a fantastic magician. Anyway, they took over the Magic Circle. They took over the Young Magicians Club, and they have, in the last year, done a phenomenal job. When Ryland joined, Ryland obviously being a young magician is part of the YMC. He joined at the age of 10. You have to be 10 to 18 to join. He joined at the age of 10, and he joined right at the beginning of the new regime. And I'm jealous. I have to be honest. I'm jealous of all of the stuff that goes on there because they have the best lecturers. They have the best conventions, and you can only get in there if you're 10 to 18. It's amazing. Ryland will be coming home saying, oh, I had a lecture from this, I saw a lecture from this person, and I watched this competition, and we did this. And you know what? It's great to see such a supportive environment. I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. I've watched competitions at the YMC at J-Day, which is their convention, and I've seen them, all the kids in the audience, watching all of the other acts that are competing. And even though they're competing against each other, they're cheering each other on. The support and the community within the YMC is something that adults should sit up and take notice of. It really is. And the future of magic is absolutely in safe hands. Now, every couple of years, the Magic Circle holds a competition, the Young Magician of the Year. Now, it runs every other year. It doesn't run every year. And it's a competition to decide who the best young magician is. And it hasn't run for a few years. The last winner was Adam Black, who, if you don't know Adam, he is an incredibly skilled Rubik's Cube magician. And he won back in 2019. And then obviously the world kind of went a bit weird with COVID. And it hasn't run until now. And now it started running again. I have a pen. I have no idea why. It started running again. And this was the first year back after COVID. And the reason I'm making this video is because Ryland was in the final of the Young Magician of the Year. And so I got to be there the whole day. I got to see all the other acts, chat to all the other acts. I got to watch their performances, and I wanted to do a bit of a review of the competition, and a little bit of a shout out to the young magicians that were in the competition. Now, in order to get to the final, there were 8 finalists. And in order to get to the final, you had to go through various different heats and various different sending in videos and so on and so forth, and you know, it was hotly contested. On a typical Saturday, there's 70 or 80 kids that are meeting in the YMC, and all of them want to be in the competition, and only 8 can, so it's very heavily contested. And all the finalists that were there, just, you know, huge congratulations for even making it to that point. But I got a chance to see, they did 2 shows. It was held on the 14th of April, and they had 2 shows, a ticketed events at the Magic Circle, a matinee show and an evening show. And although it was a competition, and although there were judges in the audience, it was a ticketed event. There were members of the public, there were magicians in the audience. Both the matinee performance and the evening performance were pretty much a full house. So just imagine that for a minute. Just imagine you're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, and you're standing on the stage at the Magic Circle in front of a packed out audience performing. I tell you right now, there's a lot of magicians, professional magicians that have been doing this a very long time, adults that wouldn't be able to do what these kids were doing at this competition. They wouldn't be able to stand on stage and perform to such a high level. And I'll tell you something else as well. I'm going to run through each one of their acts and give them a shout out, and then tell you who the winner was. But I'm going to tell you something else. I've been to lots of competitions. I've entered lots of competitions. I've seen so many magic competitions. And genuinely, I don't think I've ever seen another competition where there was such a high quality of act. There were literally 5 or 6 acts that I was watching and I was thinking, they could win, they could win, they could win, they could win. Everybody was performing at such a high level. I've never seen that quality. And 2 of the judges were Danny Hunt and Stephanie Hunt, an incredible illusion act called Amethyst that have literally been there, bought the t-shirt. And Danny in the past has judged FISM, for example. And Danny said that, he's judged all these different magic competitions over the years, and he found it more difficult judging this competition than any other competition he's ever judged because the standard was so high. I'm telling you right now, the future of magic is absolutely in safe hands with these young men and women just representing the art so well. And just a big shout out for all of them for even getting to the point of going on stage. But I don't know if you guys can relate to this. I go watch magic competitions, and sometimes you kind of think, well, okay, that guy is the obvious winner, or that person is the obvious winner, or I've got it down to maybe 1 or 2. Or you'll go to other competitions and you're like, I don't even know where you're in the competition. Here, everybody was performing at such a ridiculously high level. It was insane, and I'm just blown away. I have to say that. I'm just blown away by every single one of these acts. I mean, previous winners of the Young Magician. I mean, Steve Della, Russ Stevens, Andrew O'Connor. The list goes on and on. The winners of the Young Magician of the Year over the last, however long, 50, 60 years, are like the who's who of people within the magic industry. And to win this award is such an achievement. It really is. Just to be in the competition is such an achievement, and the creativity and the originality behind a lot of these acts, just mind-blowing. So they performed twice. They performed in the matinee and then they performed in the evening. And I just want to very briefly talk about, I've got the running order here, I wrote it down to remember it. I just want to quickly talk about each one of their acts and give a shout out to every one of them. There's not one person in this competition that didn't do a phenomenal job. So first up was Ryland Petty. He opened the show with his Harry Potter act, which if you've not seen Ryland's Harry Potter act, I think it's a very original act. It's the whole idea of the act was that Ryland loves Harry Potter and he wanted to put an act together around Harry Potter. It's all done to music, but there's a voiceover at various different points as if you're listening to a head teacher from Hogwarts and he's telling Ryland what to do and Ryland's doing the magic that he's told. And it's an interesting way of presenting all of these individual tricks in a way that's really kind of very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's all tied together through this voiceover. And the whole idea behind it is you're getting a chance to see what goes on in a little boy's head. And, he's doing some incredibly difficult candle manipulation. He's doing there's a lot of really technical stuff that he's doing through the act. And it got a great reaction, as I hoped it would. I mean, I'm biased. I'm his dad. I had him down to place in the top 3, But at the same time, I was like, well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't place in the top three because there's so many really strong acts. I would not want to be a judge in this competition. But yeah, the Harry Potter act is amazing. And that level of originality and that level of, you couldn't just come into this act and just do a bunch of tricks. You couldn't just come in and say, look, I'm going to start off with a Rubik's Cube trick. Now I'm going to do a card trick. I'm going to finish off with a cup and a ball trick. That's what I'm going to do. That won't work in this competition because everybody had raised their games so high and then some. And, Ryland's act, very, 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 very polished, very professional. I'm biased. I'm not going to say any more on Ryland because I find it kind of awkward talking about Ryan. Everybody knows I'm his dad. So next up, you have Jack Ranger Walsh, who is destined, I think, to be a big name in the mentalism. He took a very brave choice. Whilst a lot of people were doing bigger things and doing big stage magic and things like that, Jack elected to do mentalism. And he had a wonderfully... First of all, Jack is just a likeable person. If you don't know Jack, he commands the stage. When he comes out on stage and he talks, you want to listen. He starts off with a joke. He's not really a comedian. He's not a comedy magician. But there's a lot of funny one-liners in there that really make him very, very endearing to listen to. And he's doing a lot of mentalism-based effects, which can, if you're not careful, be boring. But he's presenting them in such a way that he draws everybody in. And again, just like you're going to see over and over with all of these acts, there was a theme that linked this whole thing together, which was that of playing the lottery. It had really interesting facts about the lottery and how it all began. He started strong by making a £5 note just appear out of nowhere. He told somebody they could win the £5 note. He gave it to them to hold on to. He had 4 people randomly pick 2-digit numbers in the audience. And after picking those 2-digit numbers, he had somebody name 2 of those 2 digits. He then had them scratch off a scratch card that has been in full view the whole time, and they were on there on the scratch card. But then as a kicker ending, all 4 numbers together is the serial number on the £5 note. Very brave. While everyone else is doing a lot of things to music, and there's a lot of musicality, and there's a lot of manipulation and things like that, Jack elected to bring it down and kind of really go cerebral with his performance. And I thought it was exceptional. I really, really thought Jack was great. And I think that I could see a career as a mentalist moving forward for him. He had it. He had that it factor. They all did. But it was very, very good. Then the next act was somebody I've got a soft spot for. I think he's one of my favourite young magicians. And I actually joked with Ryland before the competition and said, you know what? I really hope Joseph wins. I'm talking about Joseph Westbury. Now, Joseph Westbury is 17 years old. He was the oldest person in the competition. Very, very talented. There's a very good chance you've seen him at the Blackpool Magic Convention. You've seen him as part of the Alon Society. Very, very talented individual. His cube work is second to none. If you see Joseph at a convention and you ask him to do some cube magic, please bear in mind that everything he does is with regular cubes. All the matches and everything you see, no gimmicks. Absolutely incredible. But he chose to have a really interesting theme with this routine. And the theme was that of a waiter. He came out and the stage was set up in such a wonderful way with a table with, a tablecloth on it. And there's lots of, it was like a fake restaurant, basically. And he comes out and he says, hey, my name's Joseph. I'm going to be your waiter here this evening. He talks about being part of an inner society of waiters, which was very, very funny at the Magic Circle. And you could tell that all of this was written to be a Magic Circle act. And again, he opened very, very strong by doing a bottle of wine production. They picked a drink. It was wine, made a bottle of wine appear, had people check the label, look at the wine, then went into a bunch of routines that were all themed to being a waiter. So he did a fantastic version of the the lemon trick that brought out by Henry Harrius recently, where the lemon turns into paper and the knife turns into a fork. But it was all presented in a way that just made total sense of everything. So he talked about how a good waiter will manipulate your senses and have you think things that you don't even think are actually happening. There were callbacks to the bottle of wine that he produced at the very beginning. He went into some card stuff, but it was all based around this whole waiter theme. He did a wonderful card stab, which was one of the most visual card stabs with a knife that was examined that I've ever seen. There was some fork bending in there. There was a lot of magic crammed into this act. But what the finale was, he talked about, setting the table away at the end of the night, and he pulled the tablecloth off. Just pulled the tablecloth off, which looked great, and you can tell he's practiced that an awful lot. But there was a card that somebody had picked earlier on, massively predicted on that tablecloth, and then there was a chair set up on the stage, and then he moves the tablecloth away, and now this bloke has just appeared on stage. He's got this like production of this person, and then he it's his dad, it turns out, is holding the 7 of clubs. It was so layered at the end, and then the finale was to put the tablecloth back on under the cups and the saucers. Very well put together act. It was a masterclass in how to take random effects and put them together in a way that makes them all bigger than the sum of their parts. I actually had him down to place, and he didn't, which tells you the quality of all the acts. I had Ryland and Joseph down to place. Now they were the first 3 acts. There was one more act in the first half, who's Rafferty Coop. Now Rafferty is just a very, very talented kid. I think he's 15 years old. Don't want to call him a kid. Very talented teenager. Really, really skillful. His card work is amazing. I first met Rafferty when he was helping Ryland in his Britain's Got Talent performance. So Ryland did Britain's Got Talent. He had a lot of people from the YMC with him, and Rafferty was one of those people. And Rafferty is just very talented at everything he does. As a pianist, he's exceptional. As a magician, he's exceptional. He's just and a really nice guy as well. Like, he just will help anybody with anything. Very knowledgeable. And he took a very brave decision of doing an act completely silent. But even though it was a completely silent act, what made it was his facial expressions. His personality shone through in the act, even though he wasn't speaking at any point. In essence, what happens is he has this flip chart on stage, and it's like a desert survival guide, and he walks out in an old-fashioned jungle explorers type outfit, and he's got binoculars, and you can tell he's really hot, or he's acting like he's really hot. And the whole premise is that he's turning over this flip chart and looking at what he needs to do to survive in the desert. So the first thing is, hey, stay hydrated. And he looks in his flask and it's empty, so he produces a bottle of water. He actually does the Pat Page, David Penn production of a glass of water from his sleeve as he takes his jacket off, which is great. He drinks the water, puts it down on the stage, and then as he flicks the flip chart, more and more stuff happens. Then it's like, hey, make sure you eat, and he does the Earth Shoes type production of, but he produces an apple from his shoe, which he eats and then throws out in the audience. And then the next one, stay hydrated. He makes another glass of water appear. And basically the concept is, throughout the act, he's making 17 glasses of water appear on stage, which he's drinking and putting down on the stage. 17 glasses of water he's making appearing. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he was inspired by Charlie Caper, who does the bow tie thing, where the bow tie keeps coming back again and again and again. And Rafferty wanted to kind of try and recreate that, but with glasses of water instead of with a bow tie. And it was incredible. It really was. It's like the audience was so into it, because every time he made a glass of water appear, hey, now we're going to make another glass of water appear. It got to the point where the audience were expecting it. They weren't having a clue where it was coming from, but they were expecting it. And you end up with 17 glasses of water. There's some very funny moments in between. It's not just productions of water. He's got this moment where he's doing the Ben Hart style egg production, and then he drops the egg and cracks it into a glass, and then it says, hey, don't forget, you got to drink anything, and he drinks the egg. And it's just a very funny act. Rafferty came third, and I'm not surprised. His personality shone through. Technically, it was so skillful, but a wonderful premise for an act as well, and very, very funny. And I think anybody else could do that act and not place with it. And I think the reason that he placed with it is because A, it was so polished, B, you could tell he loved the act so much, and C, and probably one of the most important things, his facial expressions really helped shine everything through. So they were the first 4 acts. Then you had an interval, and then we came back with the next 4. Act number 5 is Arabella Crawford. Now, I'll tell you right now, Arabella is amazing. She was doing the Christmas shows at the Magic Circle with her Frozen show, with her Frozen act that she did at the J-Day last year. But this is an act that she did a couple of years ago. She brought it back for this competition, all based on Lord of the Rings. And she is basically Gollum in this act. And when I say that she takes the character seriously, I mean she takes the character seriously. Like, she you really believe that she's Gollum. She's coming out, she's snapping at people. It's very, very funny, but also a little bit kind of like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on there. The magic is almost immaterial. It's a performance piece, what we have here with Arabella. It's a performance. It's almost like a mini 10-minute theatrical production. It just happens that there's magic there to kind of move it along. But the magic fits, absolutely. She does a wonderful, wonderful 3 linking, borrowed rings, makes sense with Lord of the Rings, right? Borrowed rings, 3 rings linked together, a linking finger rings routine where they then separate. And the second separation, it's a little bit like a David Regal thing of seeing, you visually see them separate, which is amazing. Goes into the vanish of a ring, and then goes into a chop cup, and then produces a lemon, and inside the lemon's an egg, and inside the egg's the walnut, and inside the walnut is the person's ring. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but to be honest, if I said it's linking rings followed by a chop cup followed by a ring to impossible location, it doesn't really sound, well, okay, that sounds okay, that's good. Classics of magic, but it's how she actually put it together. It's how she actually routined it. And one of the things that I've seen from watching these young magicians perform is they are performing at such a ridiculously high level. They are doing stuff with standard routines that you don't see anyone else doing. They're theatrical performances, and leading the front and then some is Arabella. Arabella's performance is second to none. It really is. She can sell her character better than anybody. I'm so impressed with Arabella. I really am. She came second place in the competition. Rafferty was third. Arabella was second, and rightfully so. You know, again, she was one of the people that had down as a potential winner, and she came second, and she was good. She was very, very good. If you get a chance to go and see her Lord of the Rings act, please do so. You can tell she's into acting. You can tell that she enjoys acting, and she enjoys performance, and she enjoys drama as much as she does magic. And, you know, it probably took a long time to put that act together, and it was incredible. So Arabella was then, and then after that, you have probably the most famous young magician in the country right now, Cillian O'Connor, just come back from America, doing America's Got Talent, came third last year on Britain's Got Talent. Cillian O'Connor has become a household name. You know, he's doing a tour later on this year. He travels around the world performing magic. Cillian is amazing, and one of the reasons that Cillian is so amazing is because of his story. You know, he'll openly tell you that his autism and his dyspraxia was a real problem for him up until 2017, when he started learning magic, and performing the magic has allowed him to open up. It's allowed him to really you know, kind of put himself out there in a way that he never did before. And his performances are so that's what's the word I'm looking for? His performance is always so polished. It's always so slick, but it's always so inspirational and motivational. I could honestly see Cillian, when he's older, being a motivational, inspirational speaker. I know he's already done TED Talks, but I think he could definitely be a motivational speaker, because he is inspiring every time he speaks, every time he performs magic. You know, the link when he's performing magic is all about his autism, and, you know, how you can be bigger than the sum of your parts. And The act that he performed, he did a variation of his audition from Britain's Got Talent. He did an element of what he did in the finale of his Britain's Got Talent performance. He also threw some new stuff in there that we've not seen Cillian do before, and the whole act just flowed really, really well from one to the next, and just like with a lot of the acts, to be honest, the thing that really struck me with Cillian is the musicality. The music. He's a patter act. He's a talking act. He's a chatting act, right? But the music that played behind his performance really kind of elevated the tone of the audience that are watching him. And if there's something I could have learned from that, it's the importance of musicality when you're watching somebody like Cillian perform. It makes you understand, you really have to think about music. Cillian was amazing. Another person I had in the top three that didn't make it into the top three. Then you have somebody who I'm telling you right now, seventh competitor in the competition. If this person within the next 10 years, if they don't have their own Netflix comedy special, something has gone wrong. I'll eat my hat. I'm telling you right now, Christopher Doxey, seventh competitor, is one of the funniest comedy magicians in the world. When I say one of the funniest comedy magicians in the world, I just don't mean one of the funniest comedy magicians that is a kid in the world. No, I'm talking about one of the funniest comedy magicians in the world. And I've seen a lot of comedy magicians, and what they do is they force the comedy. It's forced. With Christopher, it's natural. You can tell, it's an old expression, isn't it? You can tell he's got funny bones. He's just a funny guy. He's very, very funny. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He doesn't take what he does too seriously. There's so many gags in his act. The very first second when he walks out, he's got people laughing before he even says a word because of how the stage is set up. And I don't want to say what it is because, it's his act. But the way that the stage is set up and the way that he comes out on stage, by the time he says his first word, people are laughing their ass off. And the whole premise of this act is having a bell. So he had this magic bell, and every time you press the bell, magic happens. And he was using this to do variations of fiber optic style routines. He was using it to do card routines where, it's impossible matchups and so on and so forth. There was a chop cup routine. Again, it sounds pretty standard, doesn't it? Professor's Nightmare, chop cup, card locations. But it's the way that Christopher put all this together and the gags that he actually used and the way that this bell just brought everything together and was the common thread. You see, a lot of people in this act, they've got a very specific theme. We talked about Rafferty with his theme of being a jungle explorer in the desert, trying to get water to stay hydrated. You look at Ryland, he's Harry Potter, he's acting like he's Harry Potter on stage. You look at Arabella, she's Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Christopher is Christopher. But he uses this bell to really kind of make the whole routine work and give it a common thread. And he had this really smart moment where the bell starts ringing itself, and that's now doing different types of magic. There was a moment in the evening performance where he dropped a ball, and it wasn't meant to happen. I know it wasn't meant to happen because it didn't happen in the in the afternoon performance. And the way he dealt with that, rather than being phased, the way he dealt with it, he got a laugh out of dealing with it. He dropped this ball on the floor, he picked it up, he bounced it, he caught it, he did a little thing, everybody laughed. And he's a pro. He's going to have, I can see him having a bigger career in comedy than magic. I think that he's great at magic. You can tell he's very well, it was very well performed. But honestly, I think the thing that sets Christopher apart from anybody else that I saw in this competition, or really anybody else, is how funny he is. He's like a little mini John Archer. I had him as the dark horse to win. But the final act, who was also the winner of the competition, is Harry Merlin Piper. Now, if you don't know who Harry Merlin Piper is, he is the son of Rodney Piper. And Rodney owns a venue. Well, he actually owns about 55 businesses, I think. But one of the things that he owns, is very well known for, is the House of Illusion in Salou. Now, the House of Illusion in Salou is an incredible tourist attraction. Some of the biggest names of magic have come out from the House of Illusion. And Rodney, obviously, Harry is Rodney's son, and I believe that Harry came out of the womb doing magic. He has performed his entire life. He was the second youngest competitor in the competition. Ryland was 11, he was 13. And you can tell he's been performing since he could walk. Like, you can just tell with how confident he is speaking, how confident he is with his stage presence, how confident he is backstage, how confident he is with himself. He has got more experience than most magicians have put together. Not kids, most professional magicians. He was a true pro in every single way. And he came to win this competition. He didn't come to mess about. He came to win this competition. He came and he bought his A game. And he took risks. If there's one thing that I've learned from watching Harry Piper perform on that stage that night, is if you want to win, you got to take risks. He took some massive risks in that competition, and he did stuff that you shouldn't be able to do when you're 13 years old. Like, he opened up with, okay, I'll tell you something, actually. In the second competition, the evening performance, he came out and his mic just stopped working in the first couple of seconds. So they had to stop the act after about a minute and a half, take him backstage. Simon Lipkin, who was the compere, did an amazing job, by the way. Simon is amazing. He killed some time, then he came back out again. Now, your average competitor in any competition would come out and start the act again. But Harry came out, made a joke of the whole situation, did some impromptu ventriloquism as if the mic still wasn't working, threw the cards away that people had already seen, and just went straight into the next bit. You can't teach that. You can't teach that. You can only do that through experience. I mean, bloody hell. Just amazing. So he opens up with the whole, again, just like a lot of the other acts, there's a theme running all the way through. The theme in this one is Harry telling everyone how frustrated he gets when he's at school and he's practicing magic and his teacher's telling him off. And, you know, there's a bit of talking at the beginning, there's a bit of joking around, there's a couple of jokes, but then he goes into this whole sequence where he's doing some matrix with rubbers and they're bouncing around all over the place. It looks absolutely amazing. Then everything vanishes in confetti. And before that, actually, he shows off his ventriloquism, and he's a singer as well as a vent, as well as a magician, as well as an illusionist, as well as a... It makes me sick. But he's doing some venting. He's got this wonderful idea of using a pencil case as a puppet, and the puppet is singing, and Harry's introducing himself to him. That then leads into the Matrix. That's all well and good, but then he comes out and he does a probably 4-minute card manipulation sequence where cards are just appearing and flying around all over the place. I'm telling you right now, the way that he manipulated those cards, the way that those cards were appearing and vanishing, the way he performed that part of the act, the energy he put into it, the musicality, the way that everything was timed to the music, that was up there with some of the best Korean manipulators. And he's 13. At the age of 13, he was doing card manipulation that you shouldn't be able to do without at least 20 years like experience, and he's doing it at the age of 13. And I checked his hands, they're small. He doesn't have big hands, and he's doing the most insane card manipulation. He's doing the most insane manipulation of just everything was just so good. There's cards flying around all over the place. There's card fountains. Every step, you can tell he's rehearsed this until he was blue in the face and then some. And it paid off because Harry Merlin Piper was crowned Young Magician of the Year 2024, the youngest person in history to ever win the Magic Circle's Young Magician of the Year. And I'll tell you right now, it is a well-deserved winner. Honestly, like I say, there's about 4 or 5 people that could have won. Harry took it to an entire other level. Harry could enter almost any competition, regardless of whether there's adults in the competition or kids in the competition. He would win with that act. That act is world class. And what's scary is he's only 13 and he's only going to get better. How good this guy is going to be at the age of 18, 20, 25, 30. My God in heaven. and the fact that Rodney James Piper is his son, is his dad, and he's got his own venue that he can perform in all the time. We could be looking at the biggest name in Magic right now. Simple as. But I want to just say that the future of Magic is absolutely in safe hands. In fact, I think that a lot of the adult magicians that go out and do competition, I think you guys need to step up your game, me included, because honestly, the stuff that the young magicians are doing right now is far and beyond ahead of anything that's being done by adults in this country. It's just a fact. Any one of those acts that appeared in that competition on the 14th of April could compete against most other acts that are adults in the world, and they would hold their own, if not win. Like, it's incredible. It's motivational. It's inspirational. It's absolutely incredible. It really is. So a big shout out to anybody that's involved in the YMC, giving a place for these young magicians to meet and perform and learn and grow and develop. Big shout out to Preston Nyman, who organised this whole competition on behalf of the Magic Circle. And he also is the editor of the Secrets magazine for the Young Magicians Club. Big shout out to Simon Lipkin, who hosted and compared the whole event and did it so well and kept everything moving and was funny. And he never once made it about him. He made it about the competition and about the kids in the competition, and that was the right thing to do. Perfect choice of compare. And a big shout out to anybody in the Magic Circle, especially Marvin Burglass, for making this whole thing happen. These young magicians that are in this competition have a very bright future. And if any of them are watching this video right now, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, congratulations. You are inspiring a new generation of magicians. And right now, I think that in 10 years' time, because of what you're doing, and because of your friends, and because of everybody else in the Young Magicians Club, and any other young magician around the country, I think because of you guys, Magic is going to be even bigger than we could have ever imagined. And it's because of the skill that you guys have and the hard work that you're putting in. So for everybody in that competition, for anybody who's in the Young Magicians Club, congratulations, because the 8 finalists in that competition, they walked out on their stage and they made a statement. And honestly, I think that people who aren't young magicians, adults in this community, I think they need to step up, because I've just seen the quality of what you guys are doing, and they're not even coming close. So there you go. A little bit of a review of the Young Magician of the Year, and a big shout out to every single person that was in that competition. The future of Magic is very, very bright, and I just want to give a big round of applause to every single one of you. Anyway, special congratulations to Harry Merlin Piper. You did a great job. I will personally tell you right now, Harry, because I know you're going to be listening to this. So I'm going to personally tell Harry right now, you're amazing. I love you to bits. You're incredible. Your dad's awesome. But I'm also telling you, Ryland's coming for you in 2 years' time. Ryland's coming for that award. He's fired up, man. But look, congratulations. And do me a favor. If you haven't already done so, follow some of these guys on whatever social media platforms they're on, because they are brilliant and they are the pace setters in this world. I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.